Hello everybody, I'm here today to read you a short story of mine written for my partner for our 1 year anniversary, entitled Now and Forever. This will likely be a series of 6 videos, one for each part, because I don't know if my laptop will allow me to upload this all at once. It's not a very good laptop, but I hope you enjoy. Part 1. Your Soul. Scotland, 1025 AD. The king had never been so close to death. "They're in the city walls," cried a soldier who came running away from the front lines. The kingdom fell into panic. Raids of markets and theft of all supplies had left the city streets in ruin. Masses of metal ran to defend the great gate, holding the rebellion back. Today was the pinnacle of a decade-long territorial war between the Kingdom of Scotland and the Resistance. Today was the last day of King James's reign. King James stood atop his mighty stone walls, the thunderous march of man and metal deafening the sound of fear flooding the city. The banner of ash and blood that unite the opposing faction darkens the ground as smoke and fire choke the sky. The fortress that stood above his city, a sign of hope and protection, now a final stand against the destruction of that he held dear. Fear stabbed through him like his own blade. He never thought his people would wish for battle. 10 years ago, a resistance was formed for the Kingdom of Scotland to take on a new ruler, a stronger ruler, a leader that would bring the country to total domination. James was disgusted to hear his own trusted men talk about war as a form of glory and pride, after he and his own wife witnessed the horrors that occurred under the previous rule. The loss of James's brother made the idea of war inconceivable. Looking down, he could still see the stains of blood on his hands. The faint outline of his brother's lifeless face burned into his retinas. He rejected the idea of war and was willing to die if it meant that no more battle had to be fought. He just never thought the day would come. The first hit against the gate gently shook the sturdy walls as the sound of arrows flying through the sky signified the beginning of the battle. The king was forced to retreat towards the safety of his castle chamber, where he had left his wife for her own protection. Queen Clare begged her husband to stay, wishing she could fight in his place, as to not see the man she loved die on the battlefield. But it was already too late. She sat on her throne, fear-stricken and alone, with naught but 2 guards standing post behind the front door. In tears, she prayed for the safety of her husband, wishing to see him just once more, even before their death. She could hear shouting behind the door, followed by footsteps. Then there were 4 knocks on the door. She sat back in fear. She had no idea how long she had sat in that chamber for. 1 hour, 5, she had no way of knowing. The ground slowly swung open, and through it stumbled the king, panting, tired. He collapsed on the ground, and Claire rushed to his aid. He could see the fear and pain in his sickly face. She helps him up and adjusts the crown on his head. "Claire, they are not far," James pants, sweat dripping from his face as he slowly rises to his feet. "Come quick, we need to get you out of the city." He grabs the queen by the hand and leads her to a hidden tunnel. James pushes his throne to the side, revealing a trapdoor. The trapdoor has sat under the throne for as long as the castle has stood, and has been a constant reminder of a royal promise. When the fight comes to the castle, it shall be our only method of escape. The queen had wished the day would never come, even if she knew it was never far. She opened the heavy trapdoor and grabbed James's hand, trying to pull him into the tunnel, but he refused to move. Tears fell down his face as his grip tightened, and he pulled in his wife, embracing her, as if for the last time. "Claire, please, you don't have to do this. You can't do this to me." She buried her face into his shoulder, tears flooding her eyes as he stands, solemn. "Claire." His voice softens, no longer anger in his voice, just a deep sadness. His gauntlets fall to the ground. James holds his wife's face in his hands. Claire's throat closes as she tries desperately to hold back tears. If they find me, the war is over. They won't look for you. Claire tries to speak, but can only mutter a single word from her breath. No. James holds her close and gently kisses her forehead. Before letting go, Claire does not let go, refusing to believe that this moment is his last. James has to softly pick her up and lower her into the tunnel as she sits, quietly sobbing. Loud weapons bang against the door, trying to break in, but even near the end, James gives his one true love one last look into her eyes, and saying his final words, I love you. The trapdoor closes. He seals the door with his heavy throne, pushing it back into its rightful place beside the throne of the Queen. James reaches for his sword, strapped to the display behind him, sharp and strong. The king stands in the center of his chamber. He adjusts his crown one more time, before taking his stance, sword in hand, Claire in his mind. Claire hears the door break, as she screams and bangs on the trapdoor to no avail. It is sealed shut. The sounds of swords and armor break her heart. She grabs a torch, dim but still alight on the tunnel wall. And starts walking toward the end, not looking back. Tears stream her face, while the thoughts of the king plague her mind. 20 minutes of walking leads Claire to the end of the tunnel. No light seeping through the thick cloud of smoke and smog in the sky. She steps out into a bog, the home of the wizard. Long ago, the royal couple had asked for the help of a local wizard to protect their kingdom. Her head filled with rage as she was convinced that the wizard was the cause of James's death. Marching through the bog and deep, thick swamp, Claire reached the pit, a hole in the ground, where the wizard resided. She tripped and fell through the hole, landing in a cavern that was filled with mysterious magical instruments, strange sounds and smells that filled her senses, before hearing a familiar giggle behind her. Among a glow of resonating crystals stood a familiar robe. The outline of a wizard stood before her. Still filled with rage, she grabbed a small crystal and held it towards the cloaked figure, ready to strike him down at any moment. The wizard quickly flicked his hand and disarmed Claire before approaching her. He inspects her for reasons he doesn't seem to know. Queen Claire, he slowly hisses, a tone she can never seem to forget. You, she bursts. You were supposed to protect us. Why did you not protect us? She grabs the wizard by the robes and throws him onto the ground, fueled by grief. Queen Claire, he says softly. He moves around her, smoothly, almost slithering. She can just make out the reflection in his eyes as he talks. You misunderstand. I understand that you killed my husband, she shouts. The sound echoes across the cave, a booming statement that shakes the wizard. He points to a place in the cave, and it lights up. A small fire appears in a pit. The wizard calls the queen to take a seat. She's able to make out more of the wizard's face. Old, thin, a beard of wire and skin of gravel. His eyes wide, constantly looking around, seeing more than any normal person. The queen sits, breathing heavily as she trusts that there's an explanation. Queen Claire, death is natural. That doesn't mean it can't be prevented, Claire snaps. No, but it means it's not the end, the wizard says, his tone perking up. You talk of life after death. The wizard giggles delightfully as she begins to understand what he means. He stands closer. Close, I talk of life after life. Claire's face shifts to that of confusion. Her brain churns, but still not convinced. Humanity sees life as bound by time, but they live separately. Life never dies, it changes. A new person, a life born in death. Time exists to resolve itself. It could take something unfinished from somewhere and finish it someplace else. Every life is different because time is always different. All lives exist all the time. Do you understand? The queen is left speechless. The idea of her husband living on gives her a strange sense of hope, but his incoherent ramblings don't inspire much confidence in her. She doesn't seem to care about her next time. She cares about her husband. She cares about the man she loved. That doesn't explain why you didn't help. We trusted you. I could not change the fate of humans. Death was never preventable. The wizard nervously hides back into the darkness, out of the light of the crackling fire. Claire looks at the way he moves, his tone. What are you not telling me? The wizard sighs. I gave you 2 parts of my power. I gave your husband the power of the voice, the ability to talk to people, to be convincing, speech at its most powerful, says the wizard before going quiet. And me? You were given the power of sight, the ability to read people, understand them. So I was never naturally able to understand people. Wrong. I am dying because this life cannot hold this much power anymore. I tried to pass on the power to you, but your body would not accept. My power has no effect, as you already held that ability. The power was given to your husband, which is why his life could not last any longer. Time exists to resolve itself. His hissing lowered to a more somber tone, hiding in the darkness partly in shame. Claire had enough. Enough of his words and enough of her suffering. She couldn't live knowing that the wizard had caused the death of her husband. She collapsed to the ground, sobbing, stricken with grief. There is a way to take you back. A spell. Claire's eyes dried as she used her strength to listen. Time and life live separately. I can cast a spell that binds 2 lives across time. You will find each other in every lifetime, though through your best and worst across all of humanity. However, I don't care what it takes, Claire whispers. Her slow, shaky breath echoes as her vision blurs. Please. Without saying another word, the wizard starts chanting as the crystals lining the cave begin to glow brighter. The cavern starts to become a dim blue as the magical energy fills Queen Claire. A small orb begins to take form at the center of the cave, and it calls for Claire. Wiping away the tears, she walks towards it. All while the wizard uses the last of his power to mutter an incantation. Across time, across space, 2 souls in the same place. No matter the trouble in sky and rubble, shall you 2 meet in every life. Shall you always be his wife. Your love forever shielding, your devotion unyielding, and every 10 centuries you'll create more memories. As Queen Claire and King James, shall the future bear your names. Upon the utterance of the final word, Claire's body began to form as part of the spell. Her life is the cost of the spell. The queen embraces the spell and sheds one final tear. She will leave her husband in this life, ensuring their entire future together.